Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. High-speed internet service continues to be scarce in rural Virginia. How did our pioneer ancestors garden? And we visit mountainous Wise County in this week's County Agricultural Close-Up.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you from Benmar Farm in Chesterfield County, just outside of Richmond. You'd expect areas like this to have high-speed internet, but as Dave Miller reports, many areas in Virginia still lag for broadband service.
Most Virginians take easy access to the internet for granted. We use it in business, education, and to get our daily news, watch movies, play online games, and check social media. But for some Virginians, it's still hard to access, and it's unreliable. Christy Proctor is hoping to change that. She has 2 young children who will soon start school, and she sees the lack of high-speed internet in rural Virginia as an epidemic. Many children in rural areas have to drive back into town every night just to do their homework at the library or on what few public hotspots are available.
We are fortunate to have a governor who is from rural Virginia, and so I think Governor Northam really understands this issue, and he has actually made a commitment that he would like to see universal broadband throughout the state within 10 years. Frankly, if you've ever heard him speak, you will know that he wants it done in a much shorter time frame, but of course this is what we view as a realistic goal.
The lack of rural broadband affects the owners of businesses and farms of all sizes in their ability to compete in selling, purchasing, researching, and completing transactions. June Capello raises sheep in Hanover County and often needs the internet to find answers to immediate questions affecting the health and treatment of her livestock. She also uses the internet to research online forums, blogs, and related video websites. The current Band-Aid fix for many folks like her is a combination of satellite and wireless service that costs more than twice as much as broadband cable and is often unreliable.
I've had people say this to me, why don't you move? You know, if you want high-speed internet, then move if it's that important to you. Well, I love where I live. And I have a farm, I have a business, so I'm not going to move. But it does seem unfair, and it really gets my goat because I'm a local person and I know these kids in this area. And, you know, it's not a level playing field.
For rural Virginia and farmers in particular, broadband internet is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. Farmers need broadband to reach new customers, communicate with their current customers, track commodity markets, and also to run their precision agricultural equipment. Modern tractors, sprayers, combines, and other equipment produce a vast amount of data. And if you can't upload and analyze that data, then you lose the efficiency gained from having that equipment. And this precision agricultural equipment analyzes your crop, analyzes your yield data, and helps you to be more efficient with what you put onto and take off of that field. But without internet access, it's unavailable information.
The lack of connectivity that plagues rural Virginia can be found throughout rural America. Back in the 1930s, when rural America was without electricity, the federal government encouraged rural cooperative businesses to provide power to every home in the country. The parallels to today's broadband shortage are obvious. Today, private industry also provides broadband internet to blocks of homes with highest densities, and therefore the highest returns on their investment. This business model leaves areas with lower numbers of homes unconnected. Some rural electric cooperatives and other businesses have been working for years to connect remote communities. but progress has been slow.
Regardless if you live in a served or an unserved area, that this epidemic truly does face every single person. Because at the end of the day, if we want Virginia as a whole to thrive, then we need to have equitable, reliable, high-speed internet throughout the state. I would encourage viewers to communicate with all levels of government, including all the way to their local government. Many of our localities we're seeing where they're forming broadband committees. This is very exciting. I think that shows the energy and that folks are very encouraged by what they're seeing happening. So get involved, get engaged.
A recent study by the U.S. Department of Agriculture predicts that nationwide universal broadband service could lead to an 18% growth in the agricultural sector. Since agriculture is Virginia's largest private industry, that could translate into an 18% increase in that sector, adding $16.3 billion to rural Virginia's economy. For folks like Christy Proctor, that change can't come fast enough. In Hanover County, this is Dave Miller.
During the Great Depression, much of rural America was without electricity, leaving those residents at even more of an economic disadvantage. Congress passed the Rural Electrification Act in 1936 to encourage more private industries to build the infrastructure needed in the countryside. Thousands of miles of power cable were laid by rural, nonprofit electric cooperatives, member-owned businesses. Several of these electric cooperatives continue to serve customers in both rural and suburban Virginia today. Some of them are offering limited high-speed internet to their customers as finances allow. The Mid-Atlantic Broadband Cooperative is also working to expand broadband service to rural parts of the state.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about historic gardening tools from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
Farm Bureau is the insurance provider of choice for farmers. But did you know all Virginians can benefit? In fact, most of our members are not farmers. As a member, you are supporting worthy causes like local Virginia food banks and the Ag in the Classroom program. Your $40 membership will easily pay for itself with the many savings options as well. Farm Bureau is made for Virginians. To learn more about the membership advantage, go to vafb.com or visit your local Farm Bureau.
Gardeners love to learn from each other, especially timeless tips. This week, Chris Mullins with Virginia Cooperative Extension visits with an expert on gardening, the old-fashioned way, from the ground up.
Well, hello and welcome. Today we're in Colonial, Williamsburg, and we're talking about historic gardening tools. We're here with Miss Eve Otmar. Eve is the historic trades gardener here at Colonial Williamsburg. Thanks for letting us be here today and talk to you about some of these tools. Well, thank you very much. Tell me, what are some of these tools you've got here?
So this time of year, we're turning soil, getting ready for the winter garden. Okay. So our workhorses are the spades. Okay. And then you're turning the garden beds shortly thereafter. Right. You're using a hoe, and you want to use the largest hoe you have to really break up the clods. Sure. Help form your ridges if you're going to have ridges. And then shortly thereafter, you follow with a nice rake. Right. You want to find any of the little clods you haven't gotten, and you can actually use it this way, right, and then to smooth the bed to make it perfect, you turn
nice
it
and flat with the backside. That makes perfect sense. I see you've got some other things, some pruners here. Wow, those things are heavy.
Yeah. So you can skip going to the gym. Yeah. This is from iron and made out of wood handles, okay, but it does a really great job. You know, the only difference between tools then and now is kind of the materials. Sure.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense because a lot of these things just seem very similar. Even these pruners, right?
Those are very nice. These are blacksmith made here in town, and they do the same thing they did back then, just a little differently. That's a little different engineering.
That's great. Well, I know there's some other practices and things we might go over there and see right now.
All right. If you'd like, we go on up and take a look.
All right. Well, Eve, this is a great garden you've got here. Tell me about it.
All right, so this is our winter garden, and all those tools we just talked about, right, we used those just yesterday. So we turned the entire bed with the spades, then we went ahead and raked or hoed, right, and then we used the rake to shape all of our ridges here. And then we planted this morning So that's why some of these don't look so great, but that's also why we use these bell jars over the top of them. Helps kind of help them along and get acclimated to being in the ground.
So that's something that we'd find nowadays, something like a hot cap or something to protect the plants from cooler temperatures.
And bell jar or cloche is the term for that tool.
Okay.
So these are winter hardy, which means they have a higher level of sugar in their system.
Okay.
So kohlrabi, we have collards here, and there's broccoli and cauliflower. There's chard in the middle, and we have a few cabbages out on the edge.
Well, that's excellent. This really looks great.
It'll look better in a couple of weeks, but...
Well, it's amazing really to look at all the tools from that era and seeing that they're very similar to what we have today.
Yes.
I really appreciate you letting us come out and see some of these things you're doing here today.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, for more information about tools like this or the gardens in Colonial Williamsburg, go to colonialwilliamsburg.com. From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu. Kale is a nutritious power food. This week, Chef John Maxwell uses it to blend health benefits and comfort food with a recipe for cheesy kale Alfredo pasta in the heart of the home.
And now, a sneak peek into a day in the life of a Virginia dairy cow. They get their day started. They have some lunch, get some exercise, spend time with their friends, and then end their day with dairy sweet dreams. Real dairy, real life, real delicious.
It's comfort food with a nutritious kick. Chef John Maxwell shows us how to make macaroni and cheese with a special ingredient, kale, in the heart of the home.
Hi, welcome to the heart of the home. I'm Chef John Maxwell, and we're here at Meadow Hall in Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia, where once again we're going to get a chance to play with some great Virginia food. Today we're going to be playing with some kale. It's great, good for you vegetable. It grows nicely in this climate. And I've got a little olive oil over here. All right. All right, and I'm going to add some garlic. All right. So that starts to saute. All right, I can hear it singing to me. It's ready to go. The pan's hot, the garlic is talking. And I'm going to go ahead and add the kale. I'm just going to get this hot and coated with the oil and the garlic, give that some nice flavor. Now I'm going to add some cream. And let that simmer in here for just a second. You want to soften up the kale. Want to incorporate the flavor of the garlic into this sauce. And when it's good and hot, we'll add the cheese. All right, this is nice and hot. Don't want to overcook it because we don't want the kale's color to change. We want to keep this nice, good green color. And so it's just about ready now. I'm going to add the cheese, a couple of cups of shredded white cheddar cheese. And Virginia's great dairy industry. You just want this to heat and simmer long enough to melt all that cheese, because we're going to add some cooked pasta to this, and we want all of that to be even in the mixture. Okay, we've got the sauce just about ready there. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. I'm going to add some lemon zest. Get that stirred all the way around. Okay, see how this is nice and thick now? Cheese has tightened it up. I'm going to add this pasta. And this is just elbow macaroni that I cooked. It's cold. Cooked it earlier. I'm going to go in here with that. And the recipe is going to be posted online. It'll have all the amounts and quantities that's necessary. Make sure all of this gets mixed in good. The thing to be careful with on this is to make sure that as you're mixing it, that all the kale doesn't clump together into bumps. So we want it to be evenly distributed throughout. This is an oven-proof dish. We're just going to add the pasta mix to that. I'm going to spread this around just a little bit to make sure that the top is fairly even. And this is now going to go into the oven. And here it is. It's a kale and white cheddar macaroni and cheese. Nice and crispy on the top, nice and creamy in the middle. One of the best parts of this is the crispy crust on it. It's got that cheesy, kind of salty taste to it. It's just wonderful. And here we go. This is a kale and white cheddar macaroni and cheese. Join us again next week when we get a chance to play with some great Virginia food, fresh from our wonderful farms.
Recipes from the heart of the home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com, as well as on Chef Maxwell's website at chefjohnmaxwell.com. More farmers and gardeners are raising kale in Virginia. There are currently 256 commercial producers raising kale in the Old Dominion, almost 200 more than 5 years ago. Kale is a very nutritious vegetable with nearly 3 grams of protein, 2.5 grams of fiber, and vitamins A, C, and K, along with folate. It's a cold plant, meaning it's cold hardy and is best raised in the early spring or late fall. Many producers are using high tunnels to extend their growing seasons these days, and kale is one of the few crops that can take really cold temperatures.
Located near the tip of Southwest Virginia's border with Kentucky, Wise County is blessed with beautiful sunrises and mountain scenery. Formed in 1856, cattle pastures and orchards line Wise County's landscape. Agriculture hasn't always been a dominant force in the county, but that's changing, and those who are involved in farming have embraced the lifestyle.
Our producers here, they're small producers, but I would put a lot of them up against some of the biggest producers in the state. They're very knowledgeable, they stay connected, very independent spirit here, but also a desire to do things the right way and pursue good information and develop their crop or their product based on that.
There are a total of 147 farms in Wise County with the average size 179 acres. The market value of all agricultural products is $2,352,000. In Wise County, there are only 8 farms larger than 1,000 acres, and most farms are significantly smaller. Cattle and calves bring in the most income with $1,354,000. Hay and other crops come in next at $507,000. Fruit trees and berries account for $180,000. The county has a total of 259,000 acres, but only 26,345 acres of that is used for farming. More than $7.7 million worth of timber is sold each year here.
A lot of our land is grazable, but really it's not mowable, or it's hard to get over with tractors and to keep it from growing up. And I think that's one of the issues that we have here, is trying to maintain our land, keep it from growing up into bushes and briars.
In recent years, the biggest change in Wise County has been the transformation from coal field to farm fields. Many farmers are former coal miners who have had to look at new careers during the decline of the coal industry. It's been a difficult transition for many, but the change has also brought about opportunities.
We're seeing fewer and fewer coal mines in the area. It used to be the primary producer. I think we've probably got about 10% of the mine production that we did 10, 15 years ago. And because of that, people are looking for other options.
I got laid off when I was 52-year-old, and I'd already started some in the cattle business, but after I got laid off, I decided I wasn't going back to work for nobody else, so I just went full-time in the cattle industry. The strip mine land that's been stripped and put back, we weaned some pretty good calves off of it.
Fleming now has about 100 head of cattle on his property. Larry Cantrell is also a former coal miner who is now raising 47 Katahdin sheep on his fields. He says the livestock industry in Wise County would benefit from having closer sales facilities.
Better markets would be, I think, a big help to cattle and sheep, and our closest market is for sheep is Abington, which is an hour and plus away, and better, closer markets would be a big help.
Another issue farmers are dealing with is the number of intrusive wildlife in their production areas. Concerns have been raised about the elk population moving in from Kentucky, damaging crops and possibly carrying disease. Farmers are concerned.
Now our biggest issue is deer, bear, turkey, and just across the border in Kentucky is elk, in which we know they're coming and they have a lot of potential of doing a lot of damage.
Diana and her husband Roy Mullins have been farming for over 4 decades. He's a third-generation farmer.
That's the size you want. They got a little long nose to them. Then they get that little bust to them like that right there. Them are nice.
What actually keeps us going is that you're in business for yourself, and you can control what you do or don't do.
Even some non-traditional agricultural products are beginning to emerge in Wise County, and not just in the usual planting season.
There's been some efforts to promote forest botanical production, for example. There are people who are getting into maple syrup production here in the county because of our abundance of maples. And so that rugged terrain really plays into what is possible here and what's not possible.
The people of Wise County are persevering through transitions in their economy. Agriculture is an exciting new opportunity for those who look at their land and see new potential. In Wise County, Virginia, I'm Burke Muller reporting.
We're so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all that Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our wide open spaces, we are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
You're going to need me. You're going to need us, all of us. You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food. You're going to need our determination, our compassion. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.